Hi, everyone, and welcome to the May 19th edition of Sentinel Sports Extra Guardians Weekly Report. I'm your host, founder and publisher of the Lake County Sentinel, Tim Shire. We do this every week on Monday, usually at 1:30. Today we 2:15 was our time we start. But the Guardians had a rough week. We'll go over some reasons that I think, they're struggling a little bit right now. They're not horrible. They're not horrible. So I know a lot of fans want to act like they're the worst team in Major League Baseball, but they're not. They had a bad week. Aside from the first week of the season, the first 6 days of the season, they were where they struggled, and they were under 500 that week. They have been, they haven't had a week under 500 until this week. And so, they're struggling right now. They are 25-21. They're 5.5 out of first. They fall into third place. The Twins passed them with their 13-game winning streak. They did lose yesterday, though, the Twins. But, I think what people need to realize too is that the last year, baseball fans in Cleveland are a very spoiled group, believe it or not. Yes, they haven't won a World Series, but they are a very spoiled group. I always say the my mic is unmuted. Somehow I muted the mic. I don't know how, but we're back. But let's get to last week. I predicted the team would be 3-3. I had a feeling that Cincinnati was going to be ugly in Cincinnati. I thought they'd win a game. I thought they'd go 2-1 against Milwaukee and then 1-2 against the Reds. They ended up going, 2-1 against Milwaukee, outscoring them 12-9. But then they went to Cincinnati and got Will Benson. Will Benson hit 4 home runs in the series, 2 yesterday. Look, you got to feel good for him. This organization gave up on him. We're going to talk about that later too, about their handling of power hitters. So they were outscored 12-6 by the Reds this weekend. I know Stephen Vogt tried to, make it like it wasn't so bad after the game yesterday. Your team scored 6 runs on the weekend. And, 3 of them were yesterday. Stop. Don't tell us your lineup's good. Don't tell us your team's hitting, because they're not, okay? They're not. Right now, this lineup is not producing. All right? It's not. You scored. Okay, they scored four runs on Friday. Oh, I guess I have this wrong. I'm sorry. I've got the run total wrong. Scored 4 runs on Friday, lost 5-4. Scored 1 run on Saturday, and then yesterday they scored 1 run. So they scored 6 runs. They scored 2 runs in the last 2 games. It's just ridiculous that he'll tell us that this is a good lineup. Are you kidding me? It's a terrible lineup right now. It is a terrible lineup. Pitching hasn't been bad. Pitching has not been bad. And I don't want to hear from any whiners who whine about every trade they make that Josh Naylor getting Slade Ciccone was a bad trade. Well, you know what? Would we like Josh Naylor in the lineup right now? Yeah, he would help. There's no doubt. But Slade Ciccone pitched well the other day. All right. It's a typical the way it's been for the Guardians. He went 5 innings, gave up 5 hits, 3 runs. They were all earned. He gave up a home run. He struck out 8. He didn't walk anybody. It was nice to see a pitcher pitch for the Guardians, a starting pitcher that didn't walk a village in his 5 innings. Unlike how the ace, Tanner Bybee, to open the series, he amazes me. And what amazes me more is not him, is that the broadcasters continue to call him the ace. Well, let me tell you something. Okay. He's an ace, like some of my friends have said to me, who know baseball, who coach for decades. He's an ace by default. And it's absolutely the truth. He's an ace by default. Because he's not an ace. Okay. If we're just gonna do that, and we're gonna say he's an ace, I'm gonna say, oh yeah, I remember when Kent Schramm was the ace of the Indians staff, when his ERA was over 5 at the All-Star break, and he made the All-Star team because they had to pick somebody from a terrible team. Okay? He gave up 10 hits in 6 innings. He walked a guy. He gave up 2 more home runs. Okay? Stop calling this guy the ace. He's only the ace because the ace is on the injured list. Okay? The real ace is on the injured list. That's why Tanner Bybee's the ace. Tanner Bybee is not an ace. When you can stop giving up home runs and walking guys early, like he's done, that game was over early. As the way the team has been hitting, that game was over early. You knew when he gave up 5 runs that game was over. He gave up 4 runs in the second, 3 runs in the first, or in the third. It was over. Oh, interesting that the Reds only got 11 hits in the game. Once the bullpen came in, the overused bullpen, they gave up 1 hit. So that loss falls on Tanner Bybee. I don't want to say, oh, he got length. No, 6 innings isn't length from your ace. Your ace gives you 7 or 8 innings. Okay? 6 innings is not length from your ace. So stop that right now. That's ridiculous. Tom Hamilton, Matt Underwood, Jim Rosenhaus, they have to stop saying that. I'll tell you who doesn't say it. Rick Manning doesn't say it. because Rick Manning knows 6 innings is not length. He knows it isn't. Okay, baseball isn't like it was in the 70s because these guys can't throw, can't go as long. Maybe because they throw harder. Okay, I get that. But don't tell me 6 innings is going deep. That drives me nuts when Stephen Vogt says that after the game. Drives me nuts. And by the way, let's be honest. Stephen Vogt was outmanaged this weekend by Terry Francona. He ran circles around him. Stephen Vogt continued to put that terrible lineup out there with John Kenzie Noel on the bench. And respects John Kenzie Noel when he had 5 at-bats all week to come in and produce on Sunday. Bull crap. Bull crap. I'm at the point where I've criticized Vogt for this. I've criticized Vogt for the bullpen. The bullpen usage is still on Vogt. It is on him. He goes to the bullpen way too quick. But I'm starting to think this lineup construction is not all on Vogt. I'm starting to think this lineup construction is the front office and their analytics people. Nolan Jones isn't good. Nolan Jones isn't good. You shouldn't have traded for him after you let him go 2 years ago because you didn't think he was good. What changed? Oh, the fact that he missed most of the last 2 seasons injured? And so that's a guy you want to trade for? Nolan Jones is terrible. John Kenzie Noel contributed to the playoff run to the ALCS last year. What did Nolan Jones do in the playoffs last year? So what do? You trade for a guy you got rid of 2 years ago, and you bench the guy that helped you in the playoffs last year. And he starts once a week. And you expect him to produce. Send him to Columbus. Let him get at bats. Let him prove you wrong again. Again. The only using him against lefties is complete bullcrap. Total bullcrap. It looked to me the last couple nights in those post-game press conferences that Stephen Vogt was a little irritated. Well, construct a better lineup, and then you won't be asked the questions about the lineup. It's terrible. And don't tell me that this is, oh, well, he can't hit this. He can't. Yeah, you know who else couldn't? This guy named Will Benson. They did the same thing to him. Never really gave him a fair shot. What did Will Benson do this weekend when he played all 3 games, 3 in a row? When the Hall of Fame manager realized his guy was hot, so he continued to put him in the lineup. Stephen Vogt is going to end up just like Gabe Kapler. Out of a job. Out of a job. And his little minion, Craig Albanese, take him with you. That rotten human being. It's very annoying to watch right now. Very annoying to watch. So here we go. We know what happened against Milwaukee and Cincinnati, so we know no reason to go over that anymore. But I also want to remind you that they did the same thing to Jesus Aguilar. So this is why I'm beginning to think it's the front office as much as Stephen Vogt, Chris Antonetti. There were other guys. They acted like they were going to give Bobby Bradley a chance. He struggled early, gave up on him. Going, well, he's out of baseball. Okay. Jesus Aguilar. Never gave him a fair shot. Had some productive seasons after he left here. Will Benson's doing well now with Cincinnati. You know. Giovanni Urshela has played how many years after the Indians at the time didn't think he was good enough? Oh, yeah, quite a bit. He's still playing. So there's that. Now it really gets tough. So Stephen votes, we just didn't do this, we just didn't do that. No, you better do both this week. Or it's going to get real ugly and you're going to be 10 games or more out of first place. Because as much as I think the Twins are overrated, they pass the Guardians now. And if Buxton Correa and that punk Royce Lewis stay healthy, the Guardians are never catching them. Because their lineup is better. Okay? Can't believe I'm saying that. But their lineup is better. The Tigers' lineup right now is better. And their pitching is better. Okay? Front office. This is the front office. You can't blame anybody else. We can vote for in-game decisions and lineup decisions. But they constructed this team. Chris Antonetti, Mike Chernoff, they constructed this team. And we kissed their ass for 10 years. Best front office in Cleveland. And they backed it up pretty much. Well, now it's time for some criticism. It is. Some of the moves, they had the worst winter they've had this past winter. They have. They replaced the second baseman, or they traded the Platinum Glove second baseman, and they didn't even know coming out of spring training who their second baseman was. How do you trade a Platinum Glove second baseman and not know who you got replacing him? That's general manager malpractice. Okay, it is. Why do you trade for a guy you traded away 2 years ago, when your lineup's pretty much set? I think Will Brennan and John Kenzie would have probably platooned in right field, but their roles would have been defined. And then they screw Will Brennan over after telling him he made the team, and then 4 hours later they send him down after they trade for no-show Nolan Jones. That guy looks at more strikes. Oh, my God. That guy looks at more strikes than a beauty contest judge looks at the contestants. The guy he's terrible. And he's not very good defensively either. I would much rather have John Kenzie Noel out there in right field than Nolan Jones. Will Brennan can play center field until Lane Thomas gets back. It's got to change. It's got to change, or this team's going to win like 70 games. It's got to change. We got, like I said, here we go this week. You got Minnesota, okay, who's won 13 out of 14 games. The win streak was snapped yesterday. They passed the Guardians. They're a half game ahead of them. They're 26-21. The Guardians did take care of them here. The Guardians are 10-3 against the Central. 8-2 at home, 2-1 on the road. But the Twins are 9-1 in their last 10. And we mentioned the 13-game winning streak. But they are, here's a point against the Twins that I think shows what they really are. And they were this last year too. They're 17-4 against teams under 500, but they're 9-17 against teams over 500. And 10 of the 13 wins in the winning streak were against teams under 500. So I think that tells you something too. The Guardians have to go in there and take 2 out of 3. They have to. They got to win the first game tonight. They have to. Okay? They have to. No excuses from Stephen Vogt. None. You got to go in, you win. You got to have John Kenzie Noel in right field tonight. You have to. I'm not sure they play at second. Schneeman, Willie Wilson, or what they'll do there. I think you got to just play Arias at short every day. He's proven he deserves it now. But Manzardo should be the DH. None of this Santana hate I've been hearing lately. He always struggles early. He's going to come out of it. He always does. And then, you go to Detroit for 4. Okay? For 4 games. There's no break here, people. They played 13 games in 13 days. They've got through 3. They got 10 more left. All right? They have 10 more left. I mean, you're going to Detroit. They hit the crap out of the ball. They pitch very well. I mean, so Stephen Vogt can sugarcoat it all he wants. And as Tom Hamilton said yesterday, once they're finished in Detroit, they have a break. They have an easy series. Yeah, they have an easy series. They come home to play the Dodgers. You got to get it right, Stephen Vogt. You got to put John Kenzie Noel in the lineup every day and see what he does. I don't know what's going on with Nolan Jones, why they're obsessed with him all of a sudden. I don't know. Does he have pictures of the front office? I don't know. I wonder. It makes no sense. The guy is not good. And it's inevitable he will get injured. So, but Detroit, you got Minnesota, like I said, 26-21, a half game ahead of the Guardians, 5 games out of first. And then you got Detroit, first place. The 4 games against them, starting on Thursday, they're 31-16. They're 5.5 up on the Guardians. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're 13-12 against teams over 500. So they're at least over 500 against teams that are over 500. And they're 19-4 against teams under. But who knows? Hey, by maybe the second or third game in Detroit, the Guardians might be under 500. I wouldn't be surprised. It's sickening to me. And I got to say one thing Major League Baseball-wise, real quick here. There's no way on God's green earth that I was going to watch that Yankee-Mets game last night. Who the hell outside of their fan base wants to watch 3 hours of ESPN kiss both teams' ass? I watch NHL hockey. I love baseball. It's not even close. It's my favorite sport. I love it. But there is no way I was going to watch that shit show last night where Carl Ravitch for 3 hours and Eduardo Perez, who drives me nuts anyway, and David Cohn, who's actually not bad. He played for both. They're fawn over them for 3 hours. No way was I going to watch that. But so we're coming to the point of the show where I'll make my prediction. I was wrong last week. I said 3-3. They went 2-4. They have 7 this week. I feel like I want to say 3-4, but no. No, I'm not. Because where they are right now is not good. Okay? And I am like the ultimate optimist when it comes to the Cleveland Guardians. I one of my good friends in the media, David Glazer, calls me a honk because I'm so positive. But let's do this. I'm going to be realistic. And I might be even too optimistic here. I'm going to say 2-5 this week. I'm going to say 2-5. They win 1 in Minnesota and they win 1 in Detroit. So by the end of the week, they'll be 27-26. And most likely in 4th place. 8-9 games out. So that's my prediction. 2-5 this week. Boy, I hope I'm wrong. But I feel a 2-5 coming. Especially if Tanner Bybee decides to give up 5 runs again in the first 3 innings. I mean, and Gavin Williams has to get his head out of his ass too. Stop walking, guys. Throw your fastball. They can't hit it. Stop tinkering with other crap. Luis Ortiz has been probably the one guy who's been better than we thought. And all the crap he got after he got traded for. He didn't pitch bad yesterday. But here we go. So I'm saying 2-5 this week. And hopefully next Monday I'm sitting here on Memorial Day and I'm saying, well, I was wrong. They made me look stupid. Let's hope so. But until next week, no analytics, just the eye test, people. The eye test shows you they're not very good right now. And analytics is not working. So I'm Tim Shire. I'll see you next week. Have a good weekend and a good holiday, everybody.